I'm on the beach. It's time for new and improved Phil on the Beach. So how does that work then? Right. Phil on the Beach has a new showrunner. My new friend Tom Dingwall has basically been telling me that he likes Phil on the Beach, but I should show more of the Galloway sights and, well, sounds and what have you. And as I said the other day when I was up Colourful, he's not wrong. I should indeed be doing more of this and less of anything else. But he did have a good idea, which I'm going to attempt to do in the next few days, which was I should do something from Wigton. He said, we live in a fine and very sort of lovely town. Why don't I walk around Wigton and do this? Tell everybody in my inimitable fashion what's so good about Wigton and point out some of the different places and who runs them and what they do and this, that and the other. And that's an absolutely fantastic idea, apart from one thing. It means me walking around Wigton doing this. Now at the moment, as you can see, if I do there's some people over there, there's some dog walkers over there, there's Paul and Sonia and Maggie over there, the Lake District over there, there's nobody else. I can stand here with quiet confidence and do Phil on the Beach, even quite loudly as well, because no one can hear me and no one's thinking, what the fucking hell is that weird bloke doing, walking around talking at his phone for? But, you know, doing that in Wigton, a little bit different. But anyway, as you can see, that's Garlieston, or Garlieston, which is, I've talked about before in one of my earliest Phil on the Beaches. I think you basically, excuse me, you saw me going blah, 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 blah. Well, here's it. Garlieston. And here is some history of Garlieston, or Garlieston. It was founded in approximately 1745 by Lord Garlies, or Garlies, whose real name was Alexander Stewart, and he was the 6th Earl of Galloway. He married a woman whose name has escaped me, but it's Mary something. I think it was actually Mary Stewart. No relation, well, at least I don't think there was any relation. And they basically built a house in that direction over there called Galloway House. It was the former seat of the Earl of Galloway, or the Earls of Galloway. It sits on the edge of the village. It's now owned by a private family who have opened the gardens for public consumption, and the locals and volunteers basically work in the gardens, etc, etc. So it was a port. There's the quayside over there. It was a port from about the 1820s onwards. Very successful port as well. In fact, so successful, as I've said before, my grandfather, or great-grandfather, worked here. He was a port worker here and at Carty Port and at Isle of Whithorn and at Port William. Basically, he worked or moved around wherever the work was. If you can see that in the distance, that's the Lake District. It's looking exceedingly good today. I can't quite work out if it's got snow-capped tops or not yet. We haven't got any here, but then again, I've not got a hat on. I've not got gloves on. It might be 8 degrees, but it's after the last few days of it pissing down with rain. It's absolutely lovely. So. So what else? This was the site and rig bay of the Mulberry Harbour. That was the sort of artificial harbours that they used for the D-Day landings in the Second World War. The reason they did that was because of the similarity between the two. The Mulberry Harbour is basically a portable harbour, floating sort of quay sides and this, that and the other. and because this is away from the prying eyes of German spies and anybody who might go, "Ooh, what's going on there?" but in a Scottish accent, it was sort of held and staged and practiced around here because, hey, even today we don't get that many visitors. And there was also a railway station here, which closed in 1903 to the general public, but was kept open until 1964 for freight, obviously, from the quayside, and when it was actually a port. And then, what's his face? His name escapes me at the moment. What's his name? You know, Beeching, Mr. Beeching, Dr. Beeching. Beeching came along and they probably shut it down, and, you know, while there is still evidence of, you know, some things, you know, railway tracks, bits of bridges, this, that and the other. Where on earth is that dog going? Hey! Come here! So yeah. So I'm sure you'll think this is considerably nicer than listening to me or looking at me. It's probably considerably nicer than listening to me as well, I suppose. But yeah, so this is Garlieston from the other direction. That's Eggeness Point over there. When I say the other direction, I mean, you know, not looking at me with me going, "Oh, look at this, look at this," with the crappy part of the selfie kind of stick phone. But yeah, that's Eggeness. That's where I occasionally do these things from. There's a house just over the top of there, which is a big farm. They have holiday cottages. There's a walk there that takes you all the way around virtually to Wigton, but it's a good 5 miles or so. What else have I got to tell you? Well, we haven't had any heating or hot water for the last couple of days because our boiler is packed up. We have a very nice man called Alan MacDonald who is currently in my house at the moment with his tools and his gas equipment and everything else, and a hammer, trying to fix our fucking boiler, which looks like it's salvageable. But yet another thing that the McLeans did that made you wonder. Hang on a minute. Doug! Come on! He's hassling people. He needs to go and hassle people he knows. He was telling us that the guy that put our boiler in was a guy called Martin Orr. And if you speak to any of the locals, I mean, you know, the proper locals and what have you, they'll tell you that Martin Orr is, he's essentially the best way of describing him, really, I suppose, is the Norman Wisdom of Galloway, or the Norman Wisdom of tradesmen of Galloway. He was basically an incompetent fucking buffoon. Him and his family, they pretty much set up, I mean, as Alan said, he had a really, really good website, so I suppose he got a lot of business because people looked at his website and thought, hey, this guy knows what he's doing. Unfortunately, because he had a good website doesn't mean he actually had any idea what he was doing. So, you know, as a result, our boiler is in the wrong place. It soots up like nobody's business, and it's probably going to cost a couple of £100 just to get the bloody thing sorted out. So this is why sometimes I really feel like I should, well, I say try harder to get a job. I'm trying as hard as I can, but there's not that many jobs for men in their late 50s with COPD who haven't got a trade apart from words. You know, I mean, I could always start my own newspaper up. Yeah, I mean, it is like the 1970s. I'd probably get 10 years out of it before the internet caught up with me, or not. So anyway, this is the. These are all going to be short, under 10 minutes. Otherwise, I run out of memory on my phone, and I get cut off mid-sentence. So here you go. This is Garlieston. This is Phil on the beach on a cold December afternoon, but not that cold. Until next time, when I might be in Wigton. FOT.